2014 Toyota Prius. So this is just going to be a recovery. A little bit of damage from collision right here on the condenser. So the condenser is going to get changed. Let's start. I'm hooked up. I'm going to recover vapor from the vapor side suction line. No liquid. This is off. Turn this off. Make sure that's off. And you can see we're at 59 psi. Let's start the recovery. Recover. This is on. So I'm weighing how much refrigerant comes out of the system because there's no leak here. But what this will let me know is because this is a 2014 Prius, if it will focus. Come on. There you go. 2014 Prius, as you can see right there. This takes 400 and I think, I can't even remember, 420 to 520 grams if it wants to focus. Come on, Apple, you can do it. There we go. 420 to 500 grams of refrigerant. So we're going to see what comes out of this, and that'll give me an indication of health of in what condition was the air conditioning when it came into the shop, because you never know when a vehicle comes in not running whether it was working before you started working on it. So one indicator is if this takes 400 or 500 grams of refrigerant and I only pull out 100 grams of refrigerant, that means the system was not in operating condition where it could provide cooling on a hot day. So you don't have a customer saying, oh, it was working just fine before it came to your shop. You know, those kind of situations. So this is why part of your diagnosis before you even start on the car in this situation, you weigh the amount of refrigerant that comes out first. We're up to 150 grams. As you can see, we're down to 1 psi. On the low side, 33, 32 psi on the high side, because I'm recovering from the low side only. I am not recovering from the high side yet because I do not want to pull out oil with the liquid refrigerant. And we're getting down, we're now below the vapor pressure. So at this pressure, we've pulled the vapor refrigerant out of the system, and it's now trying to pull what remaining liquid refrigerant is in the liquid line. It's pulling it through the orifice of the expansion valve, going through the evaporator, and then making its way to the suction line before being recovered. So now I know I'm below the pressure where there is no more liquid left in this liquid line. It's mostly vapor. What little liquid might be left would be at the bottom of the compressor, at the bottom lines of the subcooling, a little bit in the lower line, maybe a little bit of liquid boiling off that is trapped in oil in the bottom. Nothing that can make it to the liquid line now. So now I could safely open up the high side and have no fear of pulling out liquid refrigerant, removing oil at the same time. So now it's just vapor coming out. So you'll see the pressure start to even out and match and go down. I can't run the vehicle because the coolant lines are disconnected, and so I can't preheat to help speed up the refrigerant recovery procedure. And I would like to start the evaporator fan so I could blow a little heat load over the evaporator, because that's chilling down and that would help speed up. But I don't want the possibility of the engine kicking on. We have no coolant, so I don't want the electric pumps to spin while there's no coolant inside the system, because I don't want to cause damage to the electric pumps. So we're getting down there. We're at 290 grams right now, and we're 4 minutes and 18 minutes into this video right now, and I can't remember how far I was into the video where I actually started the pump and actually started removing refrigerant. You guys can do that measurement, but as you can see, we're getting down there. And I'll come back in a second video on this 2014 Prius and let you know exactly how much refrigerant came out of this Prius. And then in several days, this car will be all put back together, new bumper, painted, and I'll be called back to charge it back up with refrigerant. And as soon as it's recovered with refrigerant. I'll be back purging it with nitrogen. The system will be filled up with nitrogen. I'll have 1 or 2 psi of nitrogen in there. So when the technician takes the system apart, instead of sucking in moist air contaminating the POE oil for the electric compressor, it has a positive charge of dry nitrogen. And then the technician seals off and wraps the ends and puts plugs in the end, and the system doesn't get contaminated with moisture. A brand new condenser goes on that has a brand new receiver dryer with a desiccant material bag. So that's for drying out the system. So we'll have a clean, dry, new condenser and a system that was never contaminated. So we'll be back on this. We'll see what we get out of here. I'm curious right now. I'm almost empty. There's probably another ounce or 2 of refrigerant. You see it's negative 15 vacuum right now, but there's still probably an ounce or 2 of refrigerant. So what we'll do is we'll go into purge mode, and we'll take the liquid refrigerant out of the system, force it in the tank to get the every last, there we go, 380. So we probably have 400 and I'd say probably 410, 420 grams in the system. And as you notice, looks like I'm losing vacuum. I'm losing vacuum because there's still liquid refrigerant trapped in the oil that's very cold and it's bubbling out. Kind of like CO2 in your Coca-Cola. You release the pressure off the top of the cap and you have no pressure, right? But if you pound the Coca-Cola on the floor or on the ground, a table, whatever, you get all the fizziness and fuzziness coming out. That's the CO2 trapped in the liquid Coca-Cola, the water. Same thing with refrigerant. It's trapped in the oil. The oil, you can say, is the water. The cold refrigerant is trapped inside of it. And now that I turned off the recovery unit, it's getting pressure because there's still an ounce, maybe 2, inside the system that I need to recover. So I'll turn the recovery back on because I just wanted to show you how much refrigerant was in the system. And it looks like there's the minimum amount, 20 grams. What was required on this was in the system. So I know there's enough refrigerant in this. When it came into the door to the shop, it was in working condition. It had, well, doesn't mean electrically it was working, but it means there was no leak that the refrigerant was so low it could cause any other kind of problems. So we're good from here, and that's one of the things that you notate down on your repair order for the customer, or if you're subletting your vendor for a shop, that the vehicle came in at least with the quantity of refrigerant needed to have proper operation, or not. You always want to cover your shop. If you're subletting per shop, have everything in writing, document it, have pictures and of every procedure you do, and so there's no questions. All right guys, I'll see you later, and we're out of here. I don't even think I need to make a second video because I'm just about there. I know I'm going to hit about 400 grams when I'm all through. I'll get this down to roughly 800 or 900 microns, and I'll know I have all the refrigerant out. See you guys.